So while my YouTube channel here is well known to be a beacon of hope for artists and creatives alike, and I do get a ton of encouraging and positive comments in every one of my videos, I've recently also gotten many a story from artists who are just, I guess you'd say, beaten down and self-defeated, that they can't even pick up a pencil or want to even make art because they just anticipate the pain, and it just feeds into a cycle of feeling like a failure, and that the work isn't worth doing because it's going to fail anyway. And what do you do? What do you do when you're just feeling that? Because it's certainly something that even successful artists can relate to. At some point, we were all there. So while I am not a trained psychologist, I've certainly been in this situation before, and I can tell you some things that I did to change my life around, to change my perspective around, and start winning at art again. That's what we're all about here on this channel. We're going to turn them frowns upside down. And I got a few tools that you could use that will help you to get back up on the horse. And yeah, sure, coping, nah, it ain't about coping. It's about changing your mind, bro. Changing your perspective. It's like that little monk kid said to Neo in The Matrix. It is not the spoon that bends. It is the truth that there never was a spoon to begin with. Buckle up, because I'm about to blow your mind. First and foremost, my number one rule, if I'm playing a game and I'm playing that game for years and I just can't win at it, I change the frickin' game. And what I mean by that is I change the rules. I mix it up. If I can't win at becoming a character designer on that dream game that I wanted to work on, I change it up and I suddenly switch into a different gear. And you'll find me doing icons. You'll find me doing user interface. You'll find me doing environment concept art. You'll find me doing props. You'll find me designing all the stuff around it until I get an opportunity to do the character designs again. That's how you win it. Oftentimes people get fixated on this idea, this notion, this vision in their mind, this yardstick that pretty much just tells them if it's not, you know, working at whatever popular video game company that everybody else is chasing at, then it's not success. Oh, if I didn't get that job, then I'm a failure. It's not worth doing at all. And nothing could be more ridiculous. Nothing could be more silly. You're going to slap away life-changing opportunities because it's not what everybody else wants? I've had many artists tell me the only measure of success is if they were to get into the Blizzard or the Riot. At the time, not even Riot. That's funny now that I look back on it. So their definition changes based on what everybody else wants. Of course you're going to lose. You're going to lose if you're chasing what everybody else wants. People are fickle. I mean, one year they're all into tube tops. The next year they're into like tight roll in their pants and high-rise buttons on their pants. Like fashions change all the time. What people want changes all the time. Don't go chasing waterfalls, man. It's bullshit. Another thing I want to say is try to keep in mind that sometimes your gains are invisible. You can't see that you're growing or developing any more than you can see yourself getting older by staring at yourself in the mirror nonstop all day, every day. No, sometimes what you got to do is take a step back and you take a snapshot. And a good way to test yourself on this is if you've been diligently, like say, studying your perspective, your anatomy, your lighting, your shading, your rendering techniques, all the fundamentals that I talk about in every freaking video. If you're studying those things, and let's say you go back and you redraw something that you drew a year ago, maybe take that comic book cover that you did, or let's take an old sketch of like a Spider-Man drawing, I don't know, whatever. Pick something that you look back on your old art and you think, I could do so much better than that now. I'm going to redo that. Claire Wendling did a whole book of this, by the way. She's a very famous artist. And she took all of these sketches that she did, and then like 5 or 10 years later, she redrew the same sketches with new knowledge. Now she had better understanding of construction, a better understanding of anatomy, and she redrew the same sketches just to show herself this sense of progress. That's her snapshot. That's her taking a step back and look at all the stuff I've learned that is quantifiable. You can look at it and go, yes, this is where I didn't understand these fundamentals. And write them down, document. If you're actually writing things down and you are actively pursuing more knowledge in any of those fundamental categories that I talked about earlier, you are going to improve. It is impossible for you not to, unless if you're not paying attention. And let me equate it to the equivalent of learning to become an NBA pro basketball player. Sure, you could go out, you could play basketball every single day, right? But if all you're doing is going out and dribbling alone, and you're not even taking shots. Let's say you're just practicing Harlem Globetrotter shit, spinning the ball on the end of your finger. Maybe you're doing some like fancy, swooshing around your belly. You're doing all these fancy tricks, but you're not actually learning the game of basketball, how to play against other players, the actual techniques that are used when playing against other players, and how to take shots and know when to gauge your skill level at certain types of shots. If you're not practicing the actual game of what it is that you're trying to win at, and you've never set a defined goal for what that is, then of course you're going to lose because you've never set even an expectation. You're going to fail. So don't set yourself up to fail just so that you can talk yourself out of trying. It's going to be freaking hard work, but set yourself up for wins, man. And what I mean by that, and sometimes it means setting a goalpost that's actually attainable. What is your measure for what it means to win? What is your measure for what it means to succeed? One, if you don't write it down, you can't. How can you achieve something that you never defined? You can't win at that. And two, if that goal is based on something that is beyond your control, such as the approval of other people, maybe an art director who has unique tastes, whose taste is going to be different than an art director at another company versus a different company versus a totally different company. They all have different rules. It's not like there's one rule for what makes good art. I've been an absolute treasure at some companies that I've worked for, and I've been treated like a reusable diaper at other companies. So maybe, just maybe, you just got to change your goalpost to something that's actually achievable, something that is within the realm of something that you could actually win at. And sometimes that means maybe not just going for the job that everybody else is going after. Maybe it means not trying to do better than what everybody else is chasing after. Maybe it means finding your own niche. Sometimes that's the most innovative thing that you can do. Hell, man, I've seen people who can't draw at all start drawing comic strips that are hilarious. And then they're suddenly famous. And their stick figure doodles sell for thousands of dollars. They're not even good artists, but their content is funny. They won at some other way. And you know what? It's not even about money. It's not even about approval or success. And sometimes the measure of your success could quite literally be just that you now have a greater understanding of how to do a thing. Maybe your measure of success is that, not that you got a best-selling comic, but the very fact that you were able to write, draw, storyboard out, and put together and letter and color an entire comic book and then get it printed, and now you're holding it in your hands and you're giving it to your friend. Like, maybe that is a damn good measure of freaking success, because it is more than 99% of people who dream of being an artist can do. And by the way, that's not a hard thing to do. If you follow my Making Comics workshop, it will show you how to do that in a step-by-step process. It's not hard, but it's elusive. It's not easy to find information. But don't set out with that goal to like make a #1 selling comic. Just try to set the goal of making a thing. Your next step will be to try to make a better thing. And then the next one is going to be better. And if you keep telling yourself that this is in some way a failure, you've overcome what over 99% of other artists can't do, and you still call that a failure, well, that is a problem of perspective. And the only thing you failed at was aligning your perspective in a method that actually ensures your future success by stopping you from even trying again. And I know this from my own frickin' experience. Man, I went through this. By most measures of success, my first solo indie game that I programmed, I taught myself to program, taught myself game design, taught myself this game engine to make a little game called Aikida. And by most people's measure of success, it was a failure. And I could have stopped right there. I could have said, it's too hard, But come to find out, after 2 years later, guess what? Now I've got publisher opportunities for my next game. I can hire and collaborate with more talented other professionals who've also made indie games, completed them, not just Daydream Johnnies, not just people who have ideas about indie games that they always dreamed of making, but people who actually went out and with no resources, they were able to make them themselves. That is a win. That is an accomplishment to have completed something, because now you have all of this new skill and understanding of how it works. And if that's not worth anything, then I don't know what is. I'll tell you, man, because I'm fearless when it comes to releasing an indie game now. But when I first started, I was so scared, I was so nervous, I did a bunch of things wrong. I wouldn't have known how to do them right if I didn't do them wrong first. So yeah, the only thing you failed at was that you told yourself you failed and you didn't count the wins. Now, to be fair, if you're just repeating the same mistakes over and over and not really documenting any kind of a course or setting a path or even trying towards any particular goal, well then yeah, you probably are actually going to fail. I mean, that is failing because you're just learning to re-support your failures. But if you're actually trying to document your progress, well then how could you possibly be failing? Maybe the real answer is don't be so freaking hard on yourself. You know, I know what it's like to get the momentum going, and the hardest part of becoming a pro artist is the beginning, the first like 5 years. The first year is the absolute hardest because you got no skill, no knowledge, no connections. You're not of value to anybody yet, and you don't even know what you don't have a compass, so you don't know what to even work on or how to improve. That's why I created things like my easy art lessons to get people started with fundamentals, you know, and try to make it fun. And that during that period of time, it's as if you're trying to put your whole body weight into pushing this massive, massive boulder up a hill. And it feels like such a steep hill. And every time you stop, it feels like you're sliding back. And you're just putting all your weight into it. And it feels like every day you're just exhausted. You're trying to shove this impossible thing up this impossible hill. But the irony is that after time goes by, you don't even realize it. But it gets easier and easier to the point where you've got this momentum going. And every now and then you just kind of walk by this boulder and you tap it with the end of your finger, and then you go off and make a sandwich or something, and it just coasts. Because once you've put in the time and you've built all these gains, and if you've been paying attention to the gains that you have been building, then you start to actually automate a lot of these things. Then it gets easier and easier until it's to the point where it's a self-perpetuating thing. And you have to know that the only boundaries that exist are the ones in your mind. Watch that movie, watch The Matrix again, but look at it from the perspective that we've been talking about in this video. That movie is about overcoming the only barriers that matter, the barriers in your mind. You let other people define for you what's real. You let people talk you out of it. Don't let yourself talk you out of it too, because you might lose that perspective when you're exhausted and you're ready to faint and you're feeling like you're not going anywhere. But if you really take a step back and you redraw something you did a year ago or 2 years ago, and if you can make that better, then you've got documented progress right there, baby. So my advice to anybody who's feeling like they're paralyzed because they feel like they keep failing is, 1, try to redefine what it means to succeed. A good example would be sit down and say, I'm going to try to figure out how this other artist does this line technique or this color or material technique, or I'm going to focus today's studies entirely on just composition. I'm going to try to really grasp some new concepts of composition or perspective, for example, and just focus on one thing and focus on whether or not you're improving at that one little thing instead of thinking about, am I going to impress people who've been looking at artists who've been doing this for 20 years? Maybe actually write it down. For one, write down the smaller baby step, the smaller thing that you're trying to work towards. Write that down as your focus for right now and try to set that as your yardstick, your goalpost. And also, maybe try to count the blessings of things that you've acquired or learned from every piece that you've done. And see if you can apply that to old pieces. Look up your old pieces, and if you don't feel like they suck, then maybe you're not growing, and maybe you need to actually like write down a list of things that you could work on. Try to focus on the fundamentals. Do a Google search for that, or look up any of my videos where I talk about the fundamentals. Or if you want to just get a little bit more hand-holdy with me, if you really want some rails, something that's going to almost guaranteed help you to succeed and improve your drawing skill within 20 days, you can check out my easy art lessons. And this will walk you through fun little exercises that are real-time, that'll teach you the core fundamentals that will carry you through your entire art journey through these step-by-step videos. And I have that available over on my Gumroad channel. I'm still running the back-to-school sale, so you can get that at a sweet discount. And of course, if you ever want to know anything more about becoming an artist, please do drop those comments below. I do read them all. And consider becoming a member, where I do weekly vlogs just about, well, I guess you'd say more personal things. And if you want to have more of a direct line of communication with me, you can become a member and find out how and why my Facebook page got hacked, for example, and why I'm okay with that. Actually, I'm quite all right with it. Of course, I do appreciate everybody who stops by here on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. All right, ciao. Oh, yeah. A lot of concept artists might think that you need to have completely fresh and original ideas for main characters for video games to get a job as a character designer. But I'm here to tell you, after 20 years of working in the game industry, I've found that there are a number of jobs for skin designs. In fact, a lot of games are now service-based, and a lot of companies make money selling different looks for each of their characters. This isn't building a character from the ground up, this is taking an existing character from their game and giving it a whole new look and a whole new feel. And what goes into all that? Well, to answer that question, I've created the Advanced Character Skin Design Workshop. And this walks you through the exact process that I helped develop for skin designs at companies like Blizzard and Riot Games for their games. I'm not just some YouTuber, man, this is my side gig. I've been designing characters and skins for these games for 20 plus years. And now that I've retired from concept art, I'm ready to pass the torch. I'm gonna pass along everything that you need to know to impress those interviewers and make a really striking looking skin designer portfolio. Life is too short to not pursue your dreams, man. If you wanna be a character designer, I'm gonna show you how. Mellow Jam's not included.